Disability discussions with Ihoma Healthcare.
Welcome back to Disability Discussions with Ihoma Healthcare. We're so glad you're joining us today. Every week, we explore the conversations that matter most to disability communities, families, caregivers, and the professionals who support them. And today's topic is one that has shaped disability services for decades, often in ways we didn't even realize.
Absolutely. Today we're talking about a mistake that has been baked into disability care for generations, treating symptoms instead of understanding the person. It's a mistake that shows up in classrooms, group homes, hospitals, workplaces, everywhere. And it's time we talk about it honestly.
Because when we focus only on symptoms, the behaviors, the reactions, the challenges, we miss the human being underneath. And that's where the real story is.
Let's start with how we got here. For decades, disability services were built around a medical model. The idea was identify the problem, fix the problem. And that sounds logical, but disability isn't a problem. It's a lived experience.
Exactly. The medical model taught us to look at behaviors as symptoms. If someone was anxious, withdrawn, overwhelmed, or acting out, the focus was on stopping the behavior instead of understanding what caused it.
And that approach created a cycle. People were labeled as non-compliant, aggressive, difficult, or uncooperative, when really they were communicating unmet needs.
Behavior is communication. It always has been. But for decades, we treated behavior like a malfunction instead of a message.
Let's talk about what symptom-focused care actually looks like. It's when a person is having a hard time, and the response is, stop that, calm down, don't do that, fix it, behave.
Or when someone is overwhelmed and the solution is to remove them from the environment instead of adjusting the environment. Or when someone is struggling with communication and the response is to limit choices instead of expanding communication tools.
Symptom-focused care is reactive. It's about managing the moment instead of understanding the person.
And it often leads to frustration for the person receiving care and for the people providing it.
Now let's flip the lens. What happens when we stop treating symptoms and start understanding the person?
Everything changes. When we ask, what is this person trying to communicate? Instead of, how do we stop this behavior? We open the door to real support.
For example, a person who refuses to eat might not be non-compliant. They might have sensory sensitivities, stomach discomfort, or anxiety around mealtime.
A person who avoids eye contact might not be disengaged. They might be overwhelmed by visual input or processing information differently.
A person who becomes agitated in a crowded space might not be acting out. They might be overstimulated, scared, or unable to regulate sensory input.
When we understand the person, the symptom becomes a clue, not a problem.
Let's talk about the cost of treating symptoms instead of people. Because it's not just a philosophical issue, it has real consequences.
People lose trust. They feel misunderstood. They feel controlled instead of supported. And over time, they may stop communicating altogether because they learn that their communication isn't being heard.
Families feel frustrated. Caregivers feel burned out. Staff feel like they're constantly putting out fires instead of building relationships.
And the person, the one at the center of all this, ends up with fewer opportunities, fewer choices, and fewer moments of dignity.
That's the cost, and it's too high.
Now let's talk about the shift, the movement toward person-centered care. This approach says, let's understand the person first. The behavior will make sense once we do.
Person-centered care asks questions like, what does this person enjoy? What overwhelms them? What helps them feel safe? What motivates them? What are their sensory needs? What are their communication preferences?
It's not about controlling behavior. It's about supporting the person so the behavior becomes manageable, understandable, or even unnecessary.
And when we do that, we see fewer crises, fewer misunderstandings, and more moments of connection.
Let's bring this to life with some real-world examples. Imagine a person who becomes agitated every afternoon. Symptom-focused care might say, they're acting out again.
But person-centered care asks, what happens every afternoon? Maybe the lighting changes, maybe the noise level increases, maybe their medication wears off, maybe they're tired or hungry.
Another example, a person who refuses to participate in activities. Symptom-focused care says they're being difficult.
Person-centered care says maybe the activity isn't accessible, maybe it's overstimulating, maybe they don't understand the instructions, maybe they need a different way to engage.
When we understand the person, the solutions become compassionate instead of controlling.
Caregivers and support staff play a huge role in this shift. They're the ones who see patterns, notice changes, and build relationships.
And they're the ones who can say, this behavior isn't random. It's communication. That mindset changes everything.
At Ihoma Healthcare, we train staff to look beyond the surface, to ask questions, to observe, to listen, to understand.
Because when staff understand the person, they can support them with dignity, respect, and empathy.
So where do we go from here? The future of disability support is rooted in understanding, not control.
It's rooted in seeing behavior as communication, in designing environments that support regulation, in creating routines that reduce stress, in offering choices that build independence.
And in recognizing that every person, regardless of disability, deserves to be understood, not managed.
So, what's the disability mistake we've been making for decades? We've been treating symptoms instead of understanding the person. But we can change that. And we are changing that.
When we shift our mindset, we shift outcomes. We create environments where people feel safe, respected, and heard. And that's the foundation of real care.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Disability Discussions with Ihoma Healthcare. We hope today's conversation inspires you to look beyond behavior and see the human being underneath.
Share this episode, keep the conversation going, and remember, dignity begins with understanding.
We'll see you next time.